Welcome to Introduction in Financial Goal Setting in Business. So I just want to introduce myself. My name's Vicky Amore and I own and run Amore Coaching. So I offer one-to-one business coaching with startup and small businesses. And I also run the Business Startup Bootcamp for businesses in like their first 12 months of business, as well as running these masterclasses. So before we get started, I just want to explain this class is not a cash flow class. So we're not going to be looking at your cash flow. We're looking at financial goal setting, because in my opinion, they're two completely different things. Your cash flow and your forecast for your cash flow, to me, is always worst case scenario. So that you know, no matter what happens in your business, you've forecasted worst case scenario so that you know you're always going to have enough money to pay your bills. Whereas financial goal setting is thinking, okay, so dream big. Where do I want to be in like 10 years time? And then zooming in small, okay, like what's the next step? So this is my current reality. What's the next step? And then the next step, and then the next step. So just working out what steps you need to take over the next, like 10 years is a long time, over the next 10 years to hit that big goal. So we're going to start big. And then the second half of this masterclass, we're going to go small and get into like the detail of like where you are now and what's your next step. So I a few years ago, in 2018-19, I attended a personal development workshop. And in that workshop, we were all given a blank check and we were told that we could ask for anything that we wanted to ask for. So at the time, I wasn't in a great place. So I wrote on my check £500,000 because in my mind, I'd spent that money. Now I really nearly wrote £1 million. But £1 million was so far out of my thinking at that time. I was like, £500,000, like buy the house that I want outright, give me a couple of years, not having to worry about paying the bills. I can just focus on my business. Yeah, that would be a good amount. So it came to going around the room and the instructor asked everyone what they'd asked for on their blank check. So someone had asked for £1,500 to take their family on a nice holiday. Someone else had asked for the deposit for a mortgage to buy a house. And of course, then she got to me and I'd asked for £500,000. Now, when I said that, there was shocked silence in the room. And I got some pretty disgusting looks as well. So afterwards, my friend said to me afterwards, I cannot believe you asked for that much. And in fairness, at the time, when I said it, I felt like the greediest person in the world, But then when I got home and I was thinking about it, I was thinking, well, she did say we could ask for anything that we wanted. Was I being greedy? Now, the reason I've told you that is when we start setting goals, when you start wanting to move to like the next level and the next level in, like your personal life, your business. So you start setting big goals, and especially financial goals. It can bring up so much. It can bring up all of those little doubt niggles, like you're being a little bit greedy asking for that much, or you're never going to earn that much. That's what was going through my mind. The day we did that blank check exercise, all that was going, the reason I didn't ask for £1 million was because I was just like, the way my business was at the time, I'm never going to earn £1 million. I'm not even going to earn 500. The only way I'm going to earn £500,000 is if I win the lottery. And what the chances of that are zilch. So it can bring up a lot of stuff when you start thinking about big goals, but also as well, these are 10-year goals, not a month, not a 30-day goal or a 6-month goal or a 1-year goal. It's a 10-year goal. And we always massively overestimate what we can get done in a year, and then completely underestimate actually how much you can get done and what you can achieve in 10 years when you're focused, you've got your GPS set, like you know what direction you're going in. You'd be surprised what you can achieve. So we're going to do an exercise together around this blank check, but I wanted to tell you about that because it's not just internal doubts that come up. It can be external as well. If you're looking at setting big goals and moving your business and your life, you want to move to like next level. Sometimes the people around us, if that scares them, the thought of leveling up or earning more money or going after dreams like that can scare them. So without realizing it, they can project their fear onto you, by hearing things like, well, it's a bit, how are you going to get from where you are now to there? I think you're dreaming a bit big, like reality, look at the times that we're living in, really bad, and even this can be setting your own business up as well. If you're setting your own business up and you're going for it and you've got sales coming in and, you're building and doing really well, but then you've got people around you who mean well, they've never run a business before and they're saying to you, it's not going to last. It's not going to last. Such a bad time. Look at what's happening in the economy. There's always going to be a reason not to set your business up or not to go after your dreams, but that's them projecting where they are. It's not where you are. So it's just something to be aware of when you are sitting down and thinking, where do you want to be in 10 years? And also thinking, okay, so you've got this big dream and you've got this big financial goal that's a 10-year goal. When you hit that, what's your life going to look like? When you hit that goal, what are you going to buy? Do you want to buy, have you got like a dream house that you want? Or is there like a holiday that, when you've made it, that's the, you're flying first class, 5-star holiday, whatever it is to you, what are you working towards? Like, what's the point in doing this? And also, what do you want your life and your business to look like when you get to that level? Now, the reason I say 10 years is after I'd done that exercise with that workshop, I looked into like where would the blank check come from? Now, Jim Carrey in 1985 was in a really bad place. Like, he was broke, wasn't a known actor. He was trying to get into acting at the time. No one knew who he was. He was like a no one. He wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, and he dated it 10 years in the future. And what he also used to do was he used to get into like his banger car, because he didn't have a pot to pit in, like he had no money. He was in a bad place. He'd get into his like banger car and drive to the neighborhood that when he made it, because there was no doubt in his mind that he was going to make it, like no doubt. He knew, hard work. He'd set his GPS. He knew what he was going to do. So he used to go and drive to the neighborhood in his like banger car and visualize himself living in a house like that in that neighborhood. Now, when he made it, he moved there. But 10 years after he wrote that check, he got paid $10 million for acting services on Dumb and Dumber. Now, you can call that woo-woo or, but he knew there was no doubt in his mind what he was going after. He carried that check around in his wallet for 10 years. And this is why he went from, I'm not saying you're going to be, you want to be a famous actor earning $10 million, but it just shows when you focus your mind on what you want, on your 5-year, 10-year goal. Okay, we're going to start small, but you're constantly working towards, okay, what's the next step, the next step, the next step. So when you're having days when it feels like everything's going wrong, you can just focus back in on this is what I'm working towards. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is, if you had a blank check, thinking 10-year goals, how much would you ask for? And what's the first thing that you would buy when you reach that goal? Now, one thing I will say is, if you're, say you're like a one-man band, you don't want to expand, you don't want to start up different revenue streams, you know, to make money in like other ways. You only want to work in the area that you're working in. You don't want to work more than the hours that you're working at the minute. There needs to be a level of realistic to this as well. Like, there's only so many working hours in a day. So unless you're going to whack your prices up, if you just want to stay working how you're working at the moment, you need to think, okay, so what can you earn working as you are? But you know what? If there's even a little niggle somewhere, do you know what? I might be open to looking at different opportunities in my business and different ways I can expand my business. What would you like to be earning? And like I said, the first time I did this, even writing 500,000 on my check, in the back of my mind, I was like, this is stupid. It's like, it's just dreaming. It's stupid. I'm never going to reach that amount. And I wouldn't have. The way my business model was, this is before, you know, I got into coaching. This was still my accountancy and bookkeeping practice. I never would have achieved those goals working in the mindset. I was in such a limited mindset. Working that way, I never would have achieved the goals that I have now. But obviously doing this work, doing what I'm going to show you, introduce you to in this class, and then I cover some of it in a boot camp and my other courses, I use these tools. I use this to go, okay, so now looking at my business, it's at, you know, 9 years, I'm like a year, half a year into it, 9.5 years, I will hit a million pounds. But I know that's 9.5 years away. So I'm at the moment, I'm always working on just the next step, just one step further every day in my business. So I'm going to ask you just to pause now and just think, where do you want to be financially in 10 years time? And what are you going to buy when you hit that goal? Hopefully it's earlier than 10 years, but 10 years, when you hit that goal, what are you going to buy? What do you want your life to look like when you get to that level? So now that we've thought big, you know what your big goal is, like your big hairy 10-year goal. Now what we need to do is think small. So where are you now in your business? Like, what's your current reality now? And what's the next step? So things might be really rubbish at the minute, and your next step might just be getting your next customer. But I'm going to show you a tool to use. It's a generic tool. I normally do this one-on-one with people. But if you are working on an hourly basis or even a day rate, you can use this scheduling tool to work out, okay, so what's your maximum capacity as you're working in your business at the moment, and what's your earning potential? So how much could you earn working as you are at the moment? How much could your maximum that you could earn? Now, one thing you'll see, I'm going to share my screen with you. So one thing you'll see, what I do to start off with is look at I always plan on a 4-week schedule, just because it's so much easier to do than trying to work out what months are 4 weeks, what months are 5 weeks. And so I work on a 4-week schedule, but if you do work on a 4-week schedule, make sure you include 13 4 weeks in the year. So what I normally do is, if you look at like how you're working at the moment, so this is based on some working like 8 hours a day, They work for like one customer a day that's chargeable. Now, one thing we always forget, and especially like first time business owners starting a business from scratch, is the amount of time that you spend on things that aren't chargeable, like admin, marketing, networking, your bookkeeping. So I always schedule in how much time are you spending on those things. So we do this for the week, and then what we do is we then go into like a next level of detail. So looking at this, you've got your chargeable work, like 9 to 5, because we've said this person's working 8 hours a day, charging by the hour. One thing I will say here, I'm just going to stop sharing. One thing I will say here is if you don't work on an hourly rate, you might work, like you might make things. So you might be looking at this going, that just wouldn't work for me. What you can do is work out, okay, so how much time do you spend making each item? You know, account for materials. I'm going to share a product pricing tool with you, but then you can work out, okay, so you're you know, what are you earning after you've paid on materials? Divide that into the amount of hours that it spends you to make that product. And then you can still use this scheduling tool. So if it's taking you half a day to make, you know, or to make the product that you're then selling, then you know what you get paid before. This isn't what you actually get paid, like what your business makes after the material costs, before thinking about anything else, is what you make per item, like net profit or gross profit after materials. So this class is more aimed at people working on an hourly rate or like a project rate, but being able to work out on average, what are you earning per day in like chargeable work? And then what you'll see, I'm just going to go back to that, is what you'll see is I've then put a financial amount against the non-chargeable work. Now, the reason I've done this is when you're looking at, okay, what am I doing at maximum capacity? If you love what you're doing, the chargeable work, but you absolutely hate doing your admin or you hate doing your marketing, you can then use this tool to work out, okay, so when would I be ready to maybe outsource that work? So work with, I don't know, like a freelance, you know, virtual PA or a marketing assistant. You can put a financial amount against those hours that you're spending. And then you can also work out as well, you've got an idea of, okay, this is how much I'm spending doing those tasks at the moment. When I get to maximum capacity, so looking at this, at the moment, you might just be working for like one customer a week. So your next step could be, okay, I need to get to 2 customers a week, 3 customers a week. But you could set a 12-month or a 2-year goal saying, okay, so at the moment, I've got 1 customer a week. I want to get to 5 customers a week, working 8 hours a day for each customer. This is what my schedule will look like when I'm working like that. And when you get to that level, you're at maximum capacity. Like there aren't any more hours in the day. However, what you can do, obviously I've done it like Monday to Friday. What you can do, because you've put a financial amount against the time that you're spending on non-chargeable work, you could look at this and go, okay, so I'm making, when I'm working at maximum capacity, I'm earning £1,000 a week, just say. I need to earn personally, before my personal tax, £600 a week. So if I was to employ someone to do some of this non-chargeable work, would I still be making a profit when I'm working at this level, if that's what you want to do? And you can see you would. Now, when you start getting to this level, and one thing I will say is taking staff on in business, I think in my personal opinion, is one of the hardest things business owners do. And especially when you're taking staff on, if you want to expand your business, and you want to take staff on to do the chargeable work, so they're doing work for your customers, it's a massive transition going from a one-man band where you've done everything to all of a sudden trusting other people to do your work. But if that's something that you do want to do, then it's worth, and obviously this isn't in the scope of this class, but do operating manuals. Like, what do you do? So when you do each job, so you've got a manual when you're ready to take someone on, this is how the job's done, this is how long it takes. But with your admin and your marketing and all of the other like little non-chargeable jobs that you do that you actually might really hate doing, you can employ family members to help out with that, or networking, you can connect with other people that provide that service. And as long as you've got a general idea of what your budget is when you're close to maximum capacity, how much can you afford to pay them, then you can start looking around for people that, if you only need someone for 2 hours a week, then you can go and outsource that to an expert who does, that's what they do. And that brings us on to the next stage, scaling. So once you get to this point, and this might be a year away for you, this could be 2 years away for you, but once you get to this point, if you were to outsource, like a freelance admin marketing person, but you still spend 30 minutes a day doing your own emails, but you've got someone like admin, someone marketing, someone doing like your bookkeeping, it could actually free up nearly another day a week for you to spend on chargeable work. Now, if you are thinking about, okay, I'm going to get to this stage quite quickly, I want to expand my business and I'm ready to take staff on, the next level up from that would be going, okay, so, this is hypothetical, I want to triple my turnover. And obviously turnover is your total sales before your expenses. So you'd need an additional 10 customers, but you'd also need 2 people doing the chargeable work. And then what you can do is, okay, that's a big goal, to get an additional 10 customers. If you're working for like 1 customer a day, it's a big goal. So you then break it down. Okay, so if initially, when you were at maximum capacity, you could afford to maybe take someone on a day a week or 2 days a week while you go and find new customers. And then you can expand their hours. So it's just, and also this is a great website. I'm going to share this document with you. It's a great website for looking at like total employer costs when you do start employing people. But as you're hiring people, there's no point, if you've just got to maximum capacity, taking someone on full time because you can't afford to pay them. So the whole thing with financial goal setting is you've got your big dream, like what direction you're going in, you've set your GPS, but then it's coming right back to like, okay, like looking honestly at like, where am I now and what's the next step? And then what's the next step after that? And just taking, okay, so my first goal is to get X amount of customers because I want to get my earning level to this amount. Once I've got to that level, what's the next step that you want to take and the next step? And just constantly checking in with like your cash flow. This isn't a cash flow course, but just making sure, and also as well, using this tool to go, am I actually going to be profitable? If I do scale my business to this size, is it worth it? Because obviously it's going to be extra work. It's your business. It's still, you're going to be managing the staff until you get to a point where, if you want to get to a point where you take managers on, it's loads of extra work managing these people. So it's like, is it worth it? And then you can go back to this schedule, update the figures and go, okay, so yeah, that's what you would be making, your business would be making. This is obviously before tax and before your overhead expenses. This is just the cost of like the time spent providing the services and the non-chargeable admin and stuff around those services. But then you can think about, okay, yeah, it would be worth me doing that. And then you can go, you can use this to go into as much detail as you want. So you could use this to go, okay, so when I get X amount of customers, that's the time to take someone on, or just using this to set goals and looking at, okay, where am I now? And what's the gap from where I am now to the next level? And what is that gap in how many products do I need to sell? How many extra customers do I need to work with? How many extra hours? What am I going to make for working those hours? Excuse me. And what's my maximum earning potential working as I am now when I'm at maximum capacity? And then just work towards that. The thing is, it's great setting big goals for like these, like you set your 10-year goals, but then when you're at this level going into this much detail, I would suggest always just work, okay, what's the next level? You're going to keep leveling up, but so you don't end up overwhelmed, you always just work into like the next level and the next level. So one thing I'm going to leave you here, one thing I will say is I've got a financial goal setting in business, like a full course, which also includes a brilliant exercise called History Highway, which is great for doing this and working out what action steps do I need to take to get to the next level. So I'm going to include the link with this video, and because you've participated in this class, you'll also, instead of the course being £99, you'll receive it for £47. However, you'll also receive, if you drop me an email once you've purchased the course and let me know you've attended the introduction to financial goal setting, if you want to do this together, this scheduling tool, to look at where you are now and what's the next step, like where's the gap, let me know and we can arrange an hour's call together and we can do this together so it's relevant to your business. Because I know obviously it's quite generic what I've shown you today. So if you do want some help setting this up and going into detail in your business, once you purchase the course, just let me know. Thank you.